Welcome to the Gavel. I'm your host, Benny Arke, and I'm excited to share this week's episode with you. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's dive into the topics that matter. Nigeria's House of Representatives has raised concerns over the XEC Covid-19 variant, urging the federal government to intensify preventive measures to avoid another wave of the deadly coronavirus in Nigeria. The XEC Covid-19 variant is said to have spread to many countries worldwide, and Nigeria is determined to avoid being the next. The government is being urged to activate its response measures to prevent the spread of the variant. Let's take a look.
Move your motion.
The House of Representatives on Tuesday urged the federal government to intensify preventive measures against the XEC COVID-19 variant to another wave of the deadly coronavirus in Nigeria. This follows a motion of urgent national importance by Honorable Onyeme Idem.
Deeply worried that the emergence of the XEC COVID-19 variant in Africa poses a significant threat to Nigerians' public health. The recent detection of an index case in Botswana involving a hospitalized European traveler raises concern about the potential spread of the variant across the continent. The House resolved to urge the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and other relevant agencies to ensure that surveillance is intensified at all international borders and port entry through the provision of thermal machines, infrared thermometers for temperature screening, and deployment of personnel to conduct the screening and quarantine services on all inbound passengers into the country.
In the meantime, citing an incident involving a journalist in Badagry, Lagos State, earlier this month, who was allegedly assaulted by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, a motion to investigate the activities of the service in connection with smuggling and maltreatment of Nigerians was considered and approved during Wednesday's plenary.
The House is further aware that the actions of some officers within the Nigerian Customs Service contravene its core mandate, erode public trust, and raise concerns about oversight of joint security operations involving military personnel. So the House resolved to 1. Mandate the Committee on Customs and Excise jointly with the Committee on Defense to investigate the operations and activities of the Nigerian Customs Service across Nigerian borders, with a specific focus on smuggling activities, allegation of complicity, and an incident of brutality, and report back to the House within 6 weeks.
Meanwhile, a bill to amend the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act to include compulsory counselling and training of corruption convicts was read for the second time.
Correctional facilities shouldn't just be a place you take them to, you restrain their movement for months, for years. They also need to go through proper counseling, training, and let them know the extent of the offense, and let them know that they are being punished not just because the government wants to punish them, but because of the effects of corruption. So offenders should not just be imprisoned, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to say, my Lord, I thought I was still in court. Sorry about that, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill is quite straightforward. It is to enable convicts go to the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria. This is where they will be taken through different lessons, the effect, the damages, and other negative consequences of their corrupt acts.
Similarly, a bill to establish an agricultural research institute in Rivers State also scaled second reading.
May I move that a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to make provision for the establishment of the National Bamboo Research and Entrepreneurship Development Institute in Omogba, Omoma Local Government Area in Rivers State, and for related matters 2024. HB 122B, read a second time. I so move.
On the final day of plenary, a lawmaker from the Labour Party defected to the All Progressives Congress, bringing the total number of Labour Party decampees to 6 in 1 week.
I will recognize your point of order after a while.
Our colleague has not established the fact that he is a member of any other party as to warrant the presentation of that letter before this House this morning. I would therefore pray that you ignore the letter in its totality and allow him to take the proper step in his ward at home and then come back to this place to inform us.
For your information, Leader, our honorable colleague has satisfied all the criteria based on the legal advice I've gotten.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
But thank you for your contribution.
Point of order.
On Tuesday, during plenary proceedings, the upper chamber of the National Assembly suspended its rules to allow former Senator Monday Okpeholo, now the governor of Edo State, to enter the Red Chamber. This move shows the high esteem in which Governor Okpeholo is held by his former colleagues. This is how it went.
The lawmakers in the upper chamber suspended their rules on Tuesday to admit their former colleague, Senator Monday Okpeholo, who is now governor of Edo State, into the Red Chamber. The former lawmaker from Edo Central was in the chamber to bid farewell to his colleagues. First, the seat he once occupied was declared vacant by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio.
And request the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to conduct immediately fresh elections to fill the vacancy accordingly.
I also want to acknowledge all my distinguished colleagues in this Senate, in these chambers, for their friendship, support, shared commitment to our great nation.
The lawmakers then proceeded to the legislative business of the day, and the first was for a bill to amend the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act.
I therefore passionately solicit your support in considering and passage of this bill, which seeks to amend the Principal Act to enable the early child care development and education strengthened states to meet their commitment to the federal government block grant and enable states and the Universal Basic Education Commission fully implement and actualize the compulsory and free universal basic education.
The bill is passed through second reading.
Those in support that it be allowed to pass through second reading, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
During the last plenary session for the week, a motion on the failure of the management of a construction company to honor an invitation of the Senate Committee on Works was considered.
The resolutions passed by this Senate was that the Senate Committee on Works invites the three contractors, Messrs. Sematech, Messrs. Julius Berger, and Messrs. CCECC, Nigeria Limited, to a hearing. That hearing held the following week and was presided by the number one presiding officer of the National Assembly himself, the Senate President. In that engagement and at that hearing, out of the three contractors, only one contractor was present, Messrs. Sematech, Nigeria Limited. The presiding officer, the President of this Senate, directed at that meeting that another hearing be held and that the other two contractors must be present, including the Minister for Works. Senior members of the Committee of Works were at that meeting. Members such as Senator Ningi, Senator Alero, all present. Distinguished colleagues, it is very sad to note and to state that Julius Berger has refused to attend these investigative hearings.
The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has authorized the Senate President to sign a warrant compelling the Managing Director of Julius Berger to appear before the Senate Committee on Works on a stated date to be so named. And then the report will be made available thereafter to this August Assembly, failing which we shall go further to do the needful as prescribed in the Nigerian Constitution. Those in support of the resolution say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The committee has all the powers.
What seemed like a smooth session took a different turn when the senator representing the Federal Capital Territory, Senator Ireti Kingibe, staged a walkout after being prevented from presenting a motion. This prompted some lawmakers to make a case for her to be heard.
Distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe.
She was later recalled into the chamber to apologize for walking out and then presented her motion.
Start with a slight apology to your colleagues for walking out on them.
No, sir.
Then we have a problem there. If you are not humble enough,
I apologize to my colleagues for working out.
If you are not humble enough to apologize to your colleagues,
I apologize to my colleagues for working out.
Then you
now,
won't move your
added to that, my colleagues, I expect fairness in the Senate for everybody. Concessions are given to other people. I expect them to be given to me also when it is needed. I apologize if you did not like how I lost my temper, but I was expecting this to happen today.
Proceed to move your motion.
Senator Kingibe yielded upon the insistence of the Senate President and raised concern over the demolitions going on in the nation's capital.
Concerned that in recent time, the demolition exercise in the FCT is no longer based on reasons adduced by the FCT administration that necessitated the demolition. Further concerned that the current demolition in the FCT is not in line with due process of court orders to demolish. As such, a cross-section of individuals had suffered untold hardships occasioned by massive demolition, which has led to a loss of properties worth billions of naira. Also concerned that at the moment, an estate by name Messrs. Paulosa, for which late Colonel Paul Osankwanwa Ogbebo is the chairman, is currently under revocation and demolition. And from reliable information, the said plot of land was allocated to him in 1984 with requisite title document. And further concerned that the owner of this estate was a patriotic Nigerian who served the nation meritoriously and one of the first intakes of the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, with registration number 001. Senate resolves accordingly to urge the FCT administration to halt the ongoing revocation and demolition of the said property, as it does not fall within the purview of the reasons for the massive demolition being carried by the FCDA.
Her motion was granted and an 8-man committee was formed to meet with the FCT administration.
When we look into the prayers, will be that we should urge the minister to put a hold on the demolitions, and then we set up a committee to investigate.
Just before adjourning plenary for the week, the President of the Senate makes an announcement on the 2025 budget proposal.
His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has indicated his intention to bring the 2025 budget proposals and estimates to a joint sitting of the National Assembly on 17th day of December 2024. That will be at 11 a.m. prompt. That will be in the House of Representatives as usual. So I'm talking about Tuesday next week. So all our colleagues are enjoying to report early so that we can have a few minutes of deliberations before we move down to meet with Mr. President. Leader of the Senate.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Gavel. Let's join the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center PLAC as they analyze the recent presidential election in Ghana and what Nigeria can learn from it. With Nigeria's Electoral Act amendment ongoing, this discussion couldn't be more timely.
Of course, there's a saying that you laggard go to the ants and learn how to work hard. Nigeria claims to be the giant of Africa, and Ghana put us to shame. And it wouldn't be the first time. I didn't go to Ghana personally, but we had the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room go to Ghana. We've seen the reports that they've come back with. I was in Ghana in 2 cycles ago elections, and what we have seen with this one, 8 years after, is huge improvements in the process of Ghana's election. The Electoral Commission is very well respected in Ghana. Nobody says, oh, there's an election coming, remove this person, remove that person. And that's simply because there is no basis for it. In Nigeria, of course, you would find a basis for that. But in Ghana, there was no basis. Everybody trusted the Electoral Commission. Ad hoc staff were hired, they were honest, even if they had their political sympathies. They carried out their responsibilities very honestly. The Electoral Commission had no glitches. results were announced. Everybody was satisfied with the results that were announced, and you saw what happened at the end of the elections. First of all, significantly, the results of the election were announced in broad daylight, not at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. Secondly, the results of the election were not disputed at the end of the day. The opposition, even before the final count, and it's significant, the candidate of the ruling party was quick to concede elections even before the final count happened. So you did see a transfer of power, peaceful, non-litigated transfer of power from the ruling party to the opposition. And in fact, it was in 2015 that you did see that happen in Nigeria, when we still had some level of respect for the Electoral Commission. Today in Nigeria, everyone knows that the Commission has a lot of work to do to rebuild citizens' confidence in the electoral process. As it is today, the election management body in Nigeria has very little trust by the people in it. Nigeria does not have a credible voters register. In Ghana, the process of collation of the voter register, updating it, reviewing the names in it, is very seamless and does not in any way require the incredible amount of money we spend in Nigeria building up a voter register and updating it. Secondly, everybody was going about their normal business in Ghana on election day. Nobody shut down the country. Thirdly, you could hardly see policemen close enough to polling units. They were there, they were busy, they were maintaining law and order, but they were not there. In Nigeria, what did you hear in the recent governorship elections? The police deployed 30-something thousand to a small state. The army mobilized. What is the business of the army with elections in Nigeria? So what we see is that the security services are using elections as an opportunity for anything else other than really being involved in elections. We have to get to the point where elections in this country does not require that level of intimidating presence by the security forces. First of all, the army has no business with our elections. They should not deploy for elections. The police needs to minimize, and when I saw that INEC Nigeria was in Ghana, my point was maybe the police should have gone to Ghana to see how it is done. Maybe the Nigerian army should have gone to Ghana for the elections to see how the Ghanaian army is not involved with its elections. So there's a lot that we have to learn. And of course, for us in civil society, there's also a lot to learn, which includes the important need to be honest in your observation of the elections, to be non-partisan, and to ensure that whatever you do is for the general good of the country.
We met up with Senator Manu Haruna, the representative of Taraba Central Senatorial District. He's a member of the People's Democratic Party and has been serving in this role since 2023. Before this, he served as the Deputy Governor of Taraba State from 2015 to 2023, and even spent time as a member of the House of Representatives for Bali Gasol Federal Constituency from 2011 to 2015.
As legislator, we don't need to be urged. We've always been intervening when it comes to when our people are in their needs. And that period wasn't an exception. So I intervened in my constituency, and so also many senators too. And my constituents are very, very happy with the intervention. During my campaign, part of what my constituent asked, my constituency, let me say, my senatorial district, maybe perhaps is the only senatorial district that is not connected to the national grid. Out of the 5 local governments that I'm representing, just one local government is connected. That's my local government, which I connected when I was the deputy governor then. But the remaining 4 local governments are not connected to the national grid. And throughout the campaign period, especially the youths, that's what we've been saying. We want to be connected to the national grid. And thank God, in this budget, in the budget of 2023, one of the local governments, there is a funding to connect that local government to the national grid. And then now that supplementary too is coming, the second local government is coming. So I think this is one of the major things that, especially during my campaign, my constituents have been asking. Of course, the second issue is the issue of the Mambila. I happen to come from that senatorial district where the famous Mambila hydroelectric power project is cited. This is one project that is very, very dear to my heart, to ensure that the whole of Taraba Central is being connected to the national grid. And I'm sure in the next two budget cycle, by the special grace of God, Taraba Central will be connected to the national grid. If there is any project, if there is one single project that I want to achieve, is to ensure that Taraba Central is connected to the national grid, because currently we are the only senatorial district in the whole of Federation that is not connected to the national grid. Of course, there are other projects. For example, we have like the Takalapia projects and road projects and even the Mambila continuation of the Gashaka to Sardauna Road, because it's a federal road. And of course, there are so many, the Jalingo Yola Road too, is dilapidated. Yola to Numan, Jalingo to Mutumbiu to Ukari. These are major projects, road projects that are on Trunk A road. And those roads are not passable now. And they are major Trunk A roads. So we hope that during our time in the National Assembly, the federal government will look into those roads.
That's a wrap for this week's program. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at thegavel@channelstv.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Benny Ark. See you next time. Stay safe and be well.